My wife cheated with her coworker and mocked that I was too weak to leave her. But what happened next made everything she'd built come crashing down. I'm Ryan, 33, and I work in product management at a mid-sized tech company. I've been married to Hannah, 31, for 6 years. She works in operations for a logistics startup. On paper, things looked good, decent jobs, a nice apartment, a stable routine. But for the last 3 months, something had been off. I couldn't point to one big thing, just a handful of little things that, when stacked together, didn't sit right. Hannah started staying late at work a lot. She bought new clothes for the office. She suddenly cared about going to the gym 4 times a week, when before she barely went twice. And the part that really started to bug me, she kept mentioning a new consultant on her team named Leo. That's why the text at 4:38 p.m. hit me weird. Heads up, we've got a cybersecurity drill going live. Might run overnight. Don't wait up. We were supposed to meet at that Korean barbecue place she had picked. We talked about it 3 days ago. She doesn't miss those kinds of plans. And if she ever has a mandatory work event, I hear about it for weeks in advance. This one? Nothing. And overnight? Logistics companies don't run all-night security drills. I knew that because I build software for them. I typed a reply, got it. Hope it's not too boring. But deleted it. Something about the message felt like it wasn't meant to hold up under questions. At 5:02, my smartwatch buzzed. Evan, my next-door neighbor, had shared access to his ring cam with me months ago after we both had package theft problems. His unit faces the main entrance to our building, so it catches everyone coming and going. This time it caught Hannah. Timestamp, 4:27 p.m. She walked out the main door in a black dress, heels, hair done like she was heading to a rooftop event, not a corporate drill. Small purse, not her work laptop bag. She stood at the curb for about 20 seconds before a blue Tesla pulled up. She opened the passenger door, laughed, and got in. They pulled off before the camera got a clear shot of the driver. I watched the clip twice, then a third time. It didn't match the story she'd texted. She'd left before sending that message, and she wasn't dressed for work. I didn't call or text. I didn't blow up her phone demanding answers. I just opened my laptop and created a new folder on my desktop, when. If she was lying and when I had proof, I'd want every detail organized. I dropped the ring footage in there and added a screenshot of the text. By 6 p.m., nothing. Usually she'd at least check in. Still here or love you. Tonight, silence. I tried to focus on work, then made a sandwich, then answered Slack messages. But the thought kept circling back. Why would a drill require heels and a Tesla? At 7:42 I sent a text, hope the drill's going okay. Want me to save you leftovers? Delivered, no reply. At 8:15 I sent another, any idea what time you'll be home tomorrow? Nothing. I checked our shared phone account. Hannah's data usage was way higher than normal. She was on her phone, just not with me. I still didn't go digging through her accounts or try to track her down. I wasn't ready for that yet. I just sat there staring at that ring video. The timestamp, the outfit, the laugh. At 11:10 p.m. my phone buzzed, still in the drill. Might not sleep at all. Don't wait up. Short. Vague. The kind of message meant to end a conversation, not start one. I didn't reply. I just saved the message and closed the laptop. One text, one video, 2 hours of silence. None of it proved anything yet, but it was enough to tell me something wasn't adding up, and I had a feeling I was only at the start of figuring out just how deep it went. The next morning, Hannah was already gone by the time I got up. Normally she leaves around 8. Today it was closer to 7:15. She didn't make coffee, didn't say goodbye, just left a short note on the counter, busy day. We'll talk tonight. I stared at it for a few seconds before tossing it in the trash. Something about last night still bothered me. If that drill really happened, there should be something official about it. Her company doesn't do spontaneous overnight security runs. That kind of thing is scheduled, logged, and usually announced company-wide. I decided to check. I messaged Maya, a friend from my old job who now works in compliance for another logistics firm. Quick question. You ever seen an overnight cybersecurity drill pop up without warning? Never. Those things are planned months in advance. Why? Hannah said her team had one last night. Seemed sudden. Nah. Either they had a major breach, or something doesn't add up. Something doesn't add up. Exactly what I'd been thinking. At lunch, I logged into our shared phone account again. I wanted to see if I could figure out where she'd been. We have location sharing turned on. It was her idea back when she started traveling for work. Last night, her phone never pinged anywhere near Skyload's offices. Instead, it showed her parked downtown for 3 hours near a place called Skylight. I knew that name. It was a rooftop gallery and event space. Private, invite only, usually used for influencer dinners and brand parties. Definitely not a place for a cybersecurity drill. I scrolled further and noticed something else. A payment from Hannah to a friend labeled Wine at Skylight, $64, sent at 7:14 p.m., right around the time she claimed to be knee-deep in simulated network attacks. I added it all to the folder, screenshots of the location map, the payment record, everything. The folder was getting bigger by the hour. At 4:30 p.m., Hannah FaceTimed me. She was wearing a green vendor badge, not the blue employee badge from Skyload. She wasn't at her office. Still doing drill stuff? I asked. Yeah, boring as hell. When I asked a few basic questions, she got defensive. You're being really needy and paranoid about everything. She ended the call. It wasn't the words that got to me. It was how fast she flipped the script. I'd asked 3 normal questions, and suddenly, I was paranoid. I didn't dare screenshot. I knew she'd get a notification. Instead, as soon as the call ended, I opened a new note in the folder and typed everything I'd noticed. The green vendor badge, the unfamiliar conference room, the defensive tone. Then I pulled up her company's internal site. No drill was listed for any department. At 6:10 p.m., she texted, "Crazy day. Probably going to crash early tonight. Don't wait up." I checked her location, shopping district, then a residential area, nowhere near her office. I took another screenshot, then another when the location updated at 8:30 to a different block I didn't recognize. I didn't text her. I didn't ask where she was. Instead, I opened a new spreadsheet in the folder and started logging everything: dates, times, places, messages, screenshots. It wasn't about catching her red-handed yet. It was about building a pattern I could rely on later if this turned into something bigger. By the time she got home around 11:20, I was pretending to be asleep. While she was in the shower, her phone buzzed with a message from Leo. I wasn't ready to confront her. Not yet. I still didn't have enough, but the if-when folder was starting to fill up, and the pieces were forming a picture I couldn't ignore. She hadn't been at any cybersecurity drill. She hadn't been in any company conference room. And whoever Leo was, he definitely wasn't just a coworker. I knew now that this wasn't just one weird night. Something bigger was happening. And for the first time in our marriage, I wasn't sure how much of what she told me I could believe. By the time Friday rolled around, the atmosphere in our apartment was cold. Hannah barely spoke to me all week. No morning kisses, no real conversations, just routine check-ins and short replies. It felt like she was mentally somewhere else. That morning, she left earlier than usual. She gave me a quick kiss on the cheek without eye contact and said, "Big project today. I'll probably be home late." "Same drill as last Friday?" I asked, acting casual. "Yeah," she said, already halfway out the door. As soon as the door closed, I checked her location on my phone, something I rarely did. Instead of the usual pin on the map, the screen said location unavailable. I stared at the screen. She'd turned it off. But here's the thing. We shared a phone plan, and the carrier has a family tracking feature that's separate from Apple's Find My. I logged into the carrier account on my laptop. Her phone was still pinging there. She'd only turned off the iPhone feature, probably assuming that was enough. The map loaded. She wasn't heading toward Skyload. She was heading west. At lunch, I drove to her building. Her parking space was empty. I went inside and walked up to the security desk, just dropping off lunch for Hannah Coleman. The guard, a guy in his 60s I'd seen before at company events, looked up. "Oh, she's not here on Fridays anymore." I blinked. "Sorry?" She switched to a 4-day schedule back in July, Monday through Thursday. We almost never see her on Fridays. "July?" I asked. "Yeah, I think it started early July." July. That was 4 months ago. 4 months of Friday projects, emergency meetings, and late nights. All lies. I thanked him, walked back to my car, and sat there for a few minutes with my hands on the steering wheel. This wasn't speculation anymore. She had literally stopped going to work on Fridays and never said a word. When I got home, I opened our toll account and combed through the statements. Sure enough, every Friday for the last 8 weeks, her car had gone through the West Side Toll Plaza around 9:12 a.m. That wasn't the route to Skyload. That was the direction toward the business park where Leo's company was based. I opened her gym's app next. She'd been checking in every Friday morning around 8:45. The address was part of a shopping center about 5 blocks from Leo's apartment. This wasn't a coincidence anymore. That night she came home around 6:30 with a shopping bag and the same tired, busy day story. I didn't bring up the missing location or the guard, I just asked how work was. Stressful, she said. We're slammed with this rollout. At the office? I asked, keeping my tone neutral. She hesitated for half a second. Where else? I nodded and dropped it. No point tipping her off before I was ready. Over dinner, she was glued to her phone, barely listening as I talked about my week. When I mentioned I might get promoted this quarter, she didn't congratulate me. She laughed. Promoted to what? Another slightly bigger desk? It's a pay bump, I said. More responsibility. She smirked. I just think you could be doing more, Ryan. You're smart. You could run your own company if you wanted. Instead, you're just stuck. It wasn't just rude. It felt deliberate, like she was trying to make me feel small. Later that night, I got a message from Jess, a mutual friend. Hey, is everything okay with you and Hannah? Why? I replied. She's been saying you're getting controlling, that you check her phone, track her location, and freak out about her coworkers. She also said you've been distant, like emotionally unavailable. I stared at the screen. I hadn't checked her phone once. The only location tracking was something she set up years ago, and the only coworker I'd even mentioned was Leo, the guy she brought up every other conversation. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. It was obvious now. She wasn't just lying to me. She was rewriting the story before it was even told. She was laying the groundwork to make me the problem. When she came to bed that night, she rolled over without a word. I stared at the ceiling, thinking about the guard, the toll logs, the gym check-ins, and now Jess's message. It wasn't just one lie. It was a system of lies. She had stopped going to work on Fridays. She was going out of her way to hide her location, and she was telling people I was controlling, all while I was still trying to give her the benefit of the doubt. That night I realized something important. She wasn't just sneaking around. She was preparing for the fallout. And if she was already rewriting the narrative, I had to be ready with facts. Because this was only going to get messier from here. By the following Friday, I had stopped wondering if something was going on. I knew. What I didn't know was how deep it went, or how long it had been happening. That was the part I needed to figure out before I made any decisions. I didn't plan anything special that day. I went to work like normal, answered emails, joined meetings. But the one thing I didn't do was text Hannah. I wanted to see how she would handle a Friday without me asking where she was. At 8:46 a.m., a gym notification popped up on my phone. Hannah had checked in. The same gym 5 blocks from where Leo lived. That was the 3rd Friday in a row. Around 9:20, our toll app sent a usage alert. Her car had passed through the West Side Plaza again. Routine, predictable. Around lunch, I made a decision. I drove to the business park where Leo's company was based. I wasn't planning to confront anyone. I just wanted to see if her car was there. I found a coffee shop across the street, parked, and sat by the window with my laptop open like I was working. About 30 minutes later, I saw her. Hannah. Same black tote bag, same gym clothes she'd worn to work. She wasn't rushing to a meeting. She wasn't on a work call. She was walking calmly toward Leo's building, looking down at her phone, smiling. I watched her disappear into the lobby. I didn't follow. I just noted the time, 12:07 p.m. By 1:45, she reappeared. Different clothes now, casual jeans and a loose sweater. She hadn't left the house in that this morning. She crossed the street, ducked into a bakery, then headed toward the main road. If I hadn't been there already, I might never have seen it. But now I had confirmation. Her Friday meetings were happening in a residential building, not an office. When I got home that night, I didn't confront her. I opened my laptop and added the details to my growing log: gym check-in, toll time, arrival time, exit time. Then I started searching for more information. I found Leo's company website easily. Buried in one of the project pages was a PDF press release with a photo of their senior consultants. There he was, the same guy Hannah had shown me once in a group photo. I clicked through his LinkedIn. Mostly work stuff, but the part that caught my eye was his email address. The company domain matched one of the addresses that had appeared in Hannah's inbox months ago when I helped her set up her email on her new phone. I hadn't thought much of it then. Now it felt different. The next day, I spent the afternoon cleaning the apartment. While organizing a cabinet in the office, I found a folder with some of our financial paperwork. Tucked in the back was something that didn't belong: A printed email from a divorce attorney dated early August. It wasn't addressed to me. It was from Hannah, asking about property division and joint accounts. The date was 10 weeks ago, more than 2 months before I'd even started noticing anything strange. I read it twice. She had been planning to leave me before I knew there was a problem. That night I didn't sleep much. I wasn't angry, just focused. If she was already thinking about leaving, I needed to know exactly where I stood. I started printing everything I'd collected: text messages, toll statements, location logs, gym check-ins, screenshots of social media posts. Nothing dramatic, just information. Sunday afternoon, while she was out running errands, I called a close friend who worked in family law. I didn't mention cheating. I just asked what steps I should take if I ever needed to protect myself financially. He gave me a list: secure personal accounts, make copies of important documents, and document everything. I had already done most of it without realizing. By the following week, my approach had shifted. I stopped speculating. I stopped asking questions she could lie her way out of. I didn't argue when she made passive-aggressive comments. Instead, I answered with short, calm replies and made sure every inconsistency was documented. And deep down, I knew this was only the surface. If she was already contacting lawyers before I even knew there was a problem, there was a lot more she wasn't telling me. And sooner or later, I was going to find out. By the middle of the next week, I knew enough to stop pretending. The toll records, the gym check-ins, the empty parking spot, the FaceTime slip-ups, the coincidence at Leo's building, even the lawyer email I'd found in our office. It all lined up. What I didn't have was Leo's own confirmation. That part came easier than I thought. His company email was public, listed on the website under consultants. I sent him a message from my personal account, short and direct. "Leo, this is Ryan Coleman. I'd like to meet. Just a conversation. No drama, no threats. Coffee or beer, your choice. I think you know why." He didn't reply right away. 2 days later, I got a short email back. "Ryan, I'm free Friday after 3, Java House on 12th Street, 20 minutes. It wasn't much, but it was enough. Friday came and I walked into the coffee shop 10 minutes early. He was already there, sitting by the window in a fitted sweater and that consultant-polished look. Clean haircut, new shoes, expensive watch. The kind of guy who wanted people to know he was doing well. He looked up when I approached. "Ryan." "Leo." We shook hands. His grip was firm but cautious. I sat across from him. "Thanks for meeting." "No problem." He leaned back. "So, what exactly are we talking about here?" I didn't waste time. "You and Hannah." He shifted but didn't deny it. He just rubbed his jaw and said, "All right, you came straight out with it. I don't want games." "I know where she's been every Friday," I said. "I know about the gallery, the apartment, the gym. I'm not asking if it's happening. I'm asking if you're going to be straight with me right now." He was quiet for a moment, then sighed. "Look, yeah, we've been seeing each other. It started earlier this year, Fridays mostly. She said things between you two were basically over." "That's not true," I said evenly. He raised his eyebrows. "That's what she told me. That you were distant, checked out, more into your job than her. Said you'd already talked divorce once." I let that sit for a second. "And you believed her?" He shrugged. "I'm not proud of it, man. But she didn't act married when she was with me. She made it sound like you guys were done, and she was just waiting to file." I leaned forward. "You knew she was married, though. You knew." He didn't look away. "Yeah, I knew. But I told myself it wasn't my problem. Stupid, I know." I nodded slowly. I wasn't looking for a fight. What I wanted was for him to say it clearly without wiggle room, and he had. We sat in silence for a few seconds, before he added, "For what it's worth, she's not planning to move in with me or anything. This isn't some fairy tale romance. I don't think she even knows what she wants." That part I believed. I stood up. "Appreciate your honesty." He looked relieved. "So, what happens now?" "That's between me and her." I walked out. That night, when Hannah came home, I was ready. I waited until she put her bag down, kicked off her shoes, and poured a glass of water. Then I said, "Sit down, we need to talk." She looked wary, but sat at the table. I opened the folder I'd been building for weeks, and slid it across to her. "I know about the Fridays, the tolls, the gym, the building, the gallery, the messages you've been sending your friends about me, the lawyer email. And I talked to Leo this afternoon." Her face drained of color. "You what?" He confirmed it. For a second, she just stared. Then she tried to laugh. So you're, what, stalking me now? Meeting up with my coworkers? This is insane. Not insane, I said. Careful. I didn't stalk him. I asked him for coffee. He told me the truth. You've been lying for months. She shook her head. You don't get it. You've been so controlling, Ryan. Always questioning me. Always suspicious. I cut her off. Don't twist this. I didn't check your phone once. I didn't accuse you until I had proof. I asked simple questions, and you lied. Every single time. Her eyes watered, but it wasn't sadness. It was anger. You're obsessive. You've been building a case against me like I'm some criminal. You made yourself the case, I said, and now it's closed. She slammed her glass down. So what? You want a divorce? That's it? Yes, I said plainly. I want a divorce. She blinked fast. You don't even want to try counseling. You don't want to work on this? You've been working on this with someone else for months. You met with a lawyer before I even knew anything was wrong. You told people I was controlling so you'd have a defense. You made your choice. She wiped her face, then tried one last angle. You'll regret this. You'll end up alone. He'll never want me seriously, and you'll have thrown away everything we built. I'm not the one who threw it away. She laughed bitterly, leaning back in her chair. You'll never leave me. You're too weak. You talk tough now, but you'll cave. You always do. I shook my head. Not this time. She stood, paced, then sat again. You're so calm. Why aren't you yelling? Why aren't you furious? Because I don't need to yell. I already have what I need. I reached into my pocket and tapped my phone. The voice memo app was open. I hadn't hidden it. The little red recording bar was visible on the screen. Everything she had just admitted was saved. I'd placed the phone on the table at the start of the conversation, screen up, recording light visible. She'd been too focused on defending herself to notice. She froze when she saw it. You can't. It's legal here, I said. And it's done. She went pale, then stormed out of the room. I sat there at the table staring at the folder of evidence. For the first time in weeks, I didn't feel unsure or paranoid. I wasn't guessing anymore. I knew. And from here on, it was about consequences. The night after our conversation, Hannah slept in the guest room. We didn't speak a word. The next morning, she grabbed a few things, slammed the front door, and left before sunrise. 2 days later, while she was out, I had the locks changed. I texted her that she could arrange a time to pick up her belongings with advance notice. She didn't respond. The first thing I did was call the bank. I explained the situation and asked them to freeze all joint accounts until further notice. They confirmed they could require dual signatures for withdrawals and limit online banking access until the divorce was finalized. That was step 1. Step 2, I canceled our shared credit cards and requested new ones in my name only. I didn't want her racking up debt I'd be responsible for later. Step 3, I called the mortgage company and confirmed, as I already knew, that the condo was in my name only. I had bought it 2 years before we got married. Hannah had never been added to the deed. When she came by later that afternoon, I was ready. She walked in like a storm, arms crossed, jaw tight. What did you do? She demanded. Protected myself, I said calmly. You froze the accounts? Are you serious? How am I supposed to live? The same way you planned to live when you started planning a divorce behind my back. Her eyes narrowed. You think you're so smart. You think you're going to ruin me? You're not. I can ruin you faster. Threats won't help you here. It's not a threat, she said. It's reality. I'll tell everyone what really happened, that you were controlling, that you tracked me, that you made me feel unsafe. Nobody will believe your little detective story. I didn't respond. I just handed her a folder. Inside were copies of the toll statements, screenshots of messages, records of her gym check-ins, the lawyer email, the recording of our conversation, and a transcription of my meeting with Leo. Believe me, I said. They'll believe this. She flipped through the pages, her face going pale. You're disgusting. Recording me, spying on me. I documented the truth, I said. You can spin it however you want, but this is the record. She slammed the folder shut. This isn't over. I didn't think it was, I replied. A week later, I learned just how far she was willing to go. I got a call from HR at my company. They'd received an anonymous complaint claiming I'd engaged in coercive control and emotional abuse in my marriage, and that I had a pattern of similar behavior at work. It was obvious who filed it. The same day my lawyer called. She's filed a claim, he said. She's alleging emotional abuse as part of the divorce petition. On what basis? I asked. She claims you monitored her phone, isolated her from friends, and threatened her when she tried to leave. I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was so predictable. Within 48 hours, mutual friends started messaging me. Hannah says you were controlling. She told us you tracked her every move. Is it true you threatened her? I didn't argue with anyone. I didn't defend myself in group chats. I just told them, I have documentation and the truth will come out. Around the same time, I noticed Hannah had posted a vague Instagram story. Sometimes the person you trust most becomes the person who hurts you worst. I screenshotted it. Vague posting for sympathy while actively cheating. Classic manipulation. When HR called me into a meeting, I brought a USB drive. It contained everything. Screenshots showing she voluntarily enabled location sharing years ago, the email where she suggested joint accounts, the recording where she admitted the affair and never once mentioned feeling threatened, and her text messages to Jess bragging about how she was going to make me look like the crazy one. The HR investigation took about 3 weeks, but once they reviewed the documentation, the conclusion was clear. No evidence supports the allegations. In fact, documentation suggests the complaint was retaliatory. The legal side moved just as quickly. My lawyer filed a response with the court attaching the same evidence. Hannah's claim started to crumble. The voice memo where she admitted to the affair and said, "You'll regret this. No one will believe you," was especially damaging. So was the time-stamped email to a divorce lawyer from 2 months earlier. Her lawyer tried to pivot, claiming the emotional abuse was subtle and hard to prove. The judge asked for any evidence, text messages, emails, witness statements that supported her claims. She had none. What she did have was a long record of deception, a confirmed affair, and evidence she'd been spreading false accusations to friends and coworkers. By the time the preliminary hearing ended, the judge had reviewed the evidence submitted by both sides. He didn't make any grand pronouncements, but his tone made it clear where things stood. Based on the documentation provided, he said, "I'm not seeing sufficient support for the allegations outlined in the petition. We'll proceed with standard property and asset division." That was judge speak for, "Your abuse claims don't hold water." After that day, the tone of the divorce process changed. Her lawyer stopped pushing for spousal support. The property division proposal they sent over was suddenly far more reasonable. It was clear they knew they were negotiating from a weaker position. Socially, her plan backfired too. A few friends who'd initially believed her story reached out to apologize. "We didn't know," one said. "We thought you were just being bitter." "I'm not bitter," I told him. "I'm just done." The entire episode taught me something important. People who lie don't stop lying just because they get caught. They lie harder. They build new stories on top of the old ones and hope you don't have the patience or the evidence to prove them false. But I did. I had every screenshot, every timestamp, every message. And with each one, her credibility crumbled a little more. By the end of that month, the situation had flipped completely. The false accusations had destroyed what little leverage she had left. Instead of being the victim she tried to portray, she was now the one on the defensive, a cheating spouse who lied to friends, weaponized false claims, and got caught. And for the first time since all this started, I felt the weight lifting. She could twist the story, but the facts were on my side. And in the end, facts were the only thing that mattered. 6 months after everything exploded, I signed the last page of the divorce papers with a steady hand. No hesitation, no second thoughts. It was over. We were in a state with a streamlined divorce process. Because we had no kids, limited shared assets, and her lawyer convinced her to drop the abuse claims early after seeing the evidence, we were able to fast-track it. The house was mine. The accounts were split cleanly. There was no spousal support, no alimony. It was as straightforward as something like this could ever be. I walked out of the courthouse feeling lighter than I had in years. Life, on the other hand, had started to move forward. I got promoted 5 months after the divorce was filed. With all the chaos behind me, I was sharper, more focused, and more present at work. I also started saying yes to things I'd been putting off for years. A hiking group on Sundays, a cooking class on Thursdays, weekend trips with friends I'd lost touch with. One of the people I met through the hiking group was Ivy. She was funny, straightforward, and didn't pry into my past unless I brought it up. We started grabbing coffee after hikes, then dinner a few times. Nothing serious yet, just easy conversation with someone who didn't come with baggage. My days were full, and for the first time in a long time I liked the person I was becoming. Hannah's life, from what I heard, didn't go the same way. The company let her go shortly after HR started asking questions about her schedule. Turns out they'd been trying to reach her on multiple Fridays over the past few months for urgent client issues, and she'd been unreachable. Once they reviewed her badge swipes and found out she hadn't been in the office on Fridays for months while claiming she was working on-site projects, they had grounds for termination. Lying about your work schedule is fraud. Word got around. A few mutual friends cut ties. Even Leo, from what I was told, moved to another city and stopped contacting her entirely. Still, she tried. The first message came 2 weeks after the divorce was finalized. A simple text, "Can we talk, please?" I didn't respond. Then came the calls, dozens of them, most of which I declined. A few I let ring out to voicemail. She sent emails too, long rambling messages about how she'd made mistakes and didn't know what she was thinking. I ignored those as well. One evening, just as I was getting home from work, I saw her car parked across the street. She was sitting inside, staring at the building. When she noticed me, she got out and started walking over. "Ryan, please," she said, her voice trembling. "Just give me 5 minutes." "I don't have anything to say," I replied, unlocking my door. "Please," she said again, stepping closer. "I know I messed everything up. I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but I need you to hear me." I sighed and leaned against the door frame. "You have 5 minutes." She took a shaky breath. "I ruined everything. I see that now. I lied. I cheated. I tried to make you the villain when you didn't deserve it. I don't even recognize the person I became. I didn't speak. I wanted her to keep going. I've lost everything," she continued, tears streaming down her face. "My job, my friends, my reputation, all of it. And the worst part is losing you. You were my home. You were my best friend, and I threw it all away." "You did," I said quietly. "I thought Leo loved me," she whispered. "I thought it was something real, but he stopped talking to me weeks after everything blew up. I was just a distraction to him, and now I'm alone, and I can't stop thinking about how I destroyed the only good thing I ever had." I let the silence stretch. She was sobbing now, shaking, trying to hold herself together. "Please," she said, her voice cracking. "I know I don't deserve it, but can't we at least talk? Not about getting back together, just talk." I shook my head. "There's nothing left to say." "Ryan, please." Her voice broke and she wiped her eyes quickly, trying to hold it together. "Leo doesn't even answer my calls. And I know it's my fault, but I need you to know I'm sorry." "I believe you," I said quietly. "But sorry doesn't fix this. You left me a long time ago. I'm just catching up." She stood there for a moment, trembling, tears streaming down her face. Then she turned and walked back to her car without another word. She didn't look back when she drove away. That was the last time I ever saw her. The next morning I went on a hike with the group. Ivy walked beside me and we laughed, traded stories, talked about future plans. It felt easy, honest. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't thinking about what had been. I was thinking about what could be. That's how I knew it was truly over. I'd started a brand new chapter without her.